Let's talk Michigan Penn State right off the bat. The headliner of the week. Michigan, a team that seemingly has played no one. Or is that just because they've dominated everyone that they've played? Penn State has been in the gutters a couple games. Tough game against Indiana a couple weeks ago. Passing game struggled. But guess what? Amidst all this Michigan sign stealing scandal, can Penn State steal a win at home against Michigan? The line is 4.5 here in favor of Michigan. CD, I'm going to let you take this one first.
Here's the deal. Like you said, you mentioned it. Michigan's played nobody. They have not been tested. Penn State also has played nobody outside of Ohio State, where they looked awful. That score ended up being, I guess, a little closer. That game was not competitive. No, yes, they did have, the big strip sack or whatever that changed the whole game. That was called back, return for a touchdown. But yeah, Drew Allard did not look good in his first start. But benefits here, he comes back home. I do think they match up a little bit better with Michigan than they did last time. I think they're going to try to establish a run. They finally got K. Allen going last week against Maryland, albeit Maryland, it's not Michigan. Maryland is not even the Maryland that we know in September.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it was impressive. Okay. They beat up on teams they should have beaten up on. And that's kind of been James Franklin's hallmark, right? Like he has won games he should win. And when they are dogs, they tend to lose those games. That doesn't mean he's a bad coach. That doesn't mean that he can never beat those bad teams. Or beat those good teams. It's what the state of the program is right now. Although I am going to say, like, on that note, I just think Michigan's a wagon right now. I do think Penn State has a couple things going for them dynamics-wise. I think the NCAA and like the powers that be, TV execs, whatever else, have kind of screwed Penn State. Number one, why is this game not prime time? Right? I understand.
We know why. Come on, we know.
I understand Big Noon kickoff. I don't care. This game should be a whiteout game. Then I would be terrified to death. If I'm Michigan, I'll be picking Penn State automatically, whatever. Second thing going against Penn State right now, dynamics-wise, is that whole story you mentioned at the beginning. Everyone knows in college football, the sign stealings, counter stealings, whatever. Everyone has their opinions. I'm not going to give you mine today, but I will say, like, that can galvanize the locker room. Michigan needs something to be extra gear motivation, extra thing. They doubt us. We cannot win with sign stealing, whatever. Like, that sucks for Penn State. I think they're running into they're running on oncoming traffic right now, just a bulldozer just coming right at them, and I think they're going to be on the wrong end of a whooping here. I'm going to go Michigan to cover and obviously to win.
Yeah, I had someone ask me, so I did. Michigan was one of my national championship picks, kind of at plus 1050 at the beginning of the year. Actually, I said beginning of the year, I meant back in April. Or sorry, not April. It was like probably June. Doesn't matter. Someone told me, are you worried about that? Because now Michigan will not have signs going forward. Like you just said, I'm not worried at all. This team passes the eye test. It has looked the best team in the country. Total offense and total defense, they look pretty similar, like eerily similar to Penn State, right? Offensively, they're 50th in rushing in total yards, 45th in passing total yards. Penn State, they're 43rd in total rushing yards and offense, 76th in pass offense. So pretty similar there, but that does not tell a story, right? Now, both these teams have not run the ball like we thought they were going to at the start of the season. But the reason why Michigan is only 45th in total yards offensively passing the ball, it is because they're getting short fields and they're getting up on teams. So they don't need to throw the ball late in the game. They're averaging 10 yards per attempt. That is 5th in the country.
At 75 completion percentage for J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah. So whereas like you look at Penn State, 6.4 yards per attempt, that is 100th in the country. That is two completely different passing attacks, right? The other thing about Michigan too, they're healthy. They're completely healthy. Penn State, Chop Robinson, questionable. Emin Vanover, sorry. Both questionable. Now, Vanover, that's more of a depth piece there, but Chop Robinson, if he doesn't play, that's a big deal. Big deal. People are also saying, like, oh, Michigan's offensive line, it'll be really interesting when they play a really good defensive line. They've played some good defensive lines. We saw Penn State when they played a really good defensive line, and it did not look good, and Michigan's defensive line is very good. Michigan is also the least penalized team in the country. Only 2.7 penalties per game. Wow. Disciplined. So 4.5 is a tough number to get it at, right? Of course, for our picks purposes, right, I'll take the -4.5. But if you're talking betting terms, right, Michigan is averaging the most points in the third quarter in the entire country, right? If you get a chance to live bet this at under 3, you're going to do that. Because early in the game, right, we might see Michigan get punched in the mouth for the first time against a really, really physical team. You might be like, oh, whoa, Penn State kind of came to play like last year. Remember that? They had that long touchdown, the scamper by Sean Clifford, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, Penn State's in it. I live bet that immediately, and they absolutely floored them. On the other hand, though, you could argue that, Penn State is the most fourth quarter points in the country. That is because James Franklin does not quit. He is always trying to cover the spread. He's always trying to cover the spread. Well, his reasoning is, I actually agree with it to a certain degree, right? You any player that's on the field, you should give them an equal opportunity to earn playing time as well, right? That's 100%. And I do agree with that to a certain extent. There are levels to that, of course. Not every situation is quite even, but I just think Michigan's a much better team. Look, Penn State, we were both high on them. We both took over 9.5 wins this year. And they could go 10-2, which I would expect them to after this game. But this Michigan team is just, in my opinion, playing the best football in the country right now. I don't care. Look, their schedule looks a little bit better than you thought it was going to be. I mean, Rutgers, that's an okay team. UNLV, that's an okay team. So Bowling Green, all of a sudden, Michigan
bowl eligible Bowling Green, by the way.
Yeah. A Bowling Green team that had 3 interceptions against JJ McCarthy. People seem to forget. But yeah. So yeah, give me Michigan for all the same reasons that you said as well.
I will say, to add on to this Michigan talk, it's literally Noah's Ark over there, right? They have 2 of everything. Okay. 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, 2 tackles, 2 of everything on defense. You can add even 3 linebackers. They're unbelievably deep. They do not have a hole on their roster. We talked about it in the summer. That's why we love this Michigan team. They were deep. They don't have holes. And JJ McCarthy gives them this dimension this year that he's playing at, and that we talked about him, that we were hoping he was going to take that step, and he has, where they don't have to rely on a running game and defense to win a football game, to win a big-time college football game. They don't. They can do it with the arm and, honestly, the legs of JJ McCarthy. We've seen them this year, haven't really used his legs because they haven't needed to. Don't want to get them hurt. I get that. But also, you've seen in big-time games, they love to use that dual threat ability to give them that extra edge, especially if they're having trouble running the ball against those. It's a really good front for Penn State. 3 great linebackers. If you're struggling running the ball with Corum and Donovan Edwards, a nice pull every now and then.
Somehow, it's kind of been weird that they haven't been able to dominate on the ground game. And Blake Corum's gotten his, but Donovan Edwards, I don't know what's happened, dude.
That's the thing. The thing that worries me about Penn State is their O-line has not lived up to the hype that it had. I think we've realized that this is not an elite O-line that we were thinking. Their guard play, their interior play is really concerning. And Michigan has some dogs in the middle. Even without Mozzie Smith, that was the concern. It was wow, okay, we lose Mozzie Smith. That's a big deal. It does not matter. Dogs in the middle. They're really, really good. And you saw Michael Hall, you saw guys on Ohio State really get to Penn State from the interior. And they've got guys to do it as well. I will say path to Penn State winning. How do you see that happening? Penn State can win this game. It's a 4.5-point spread. Explosive plays. How do they win? Early and often, absolutely. Michigan has given up. They're averaging giving up 1 red zone possession a game, right? So if you're not getting to the red zone, right, you got to score somehow not being in the red zone. Get those explosive plays, right? Get those explosive plays. I think their average touchdown that they're giving up is 40 yards. We're looking at trick plays. I mean, weird, everyone's pulling out all of their bag on Michigan. Except Minnesota. Minnesota scored a nice one. They had a goal ball to Daniel Jackson, and he made a nice play. Ethan threw a nice ball. That point's exactly it, though. You cannot go 8 to 10 plays on them, 75 yards, and methodically drive it down the field, especially with Penn State. Penn State's not built to do that. Michigan's built to stop that. I agree. I want to shout out Dante Cephas real quick. Been talking about him all year. In summer, he was my guy. He finally got a touchdown. Here it comes. It'd be nice to have another guy. And we talked about 2 of everything. We talked about Noah's Ark for Michigan. Penn State, they got 2 running backs. They got 2 tight ends. That second wide receiver would be super nice for Drew Allard because Yes, everyone gave him crap in that Ohio State game. There was not open receivers. There was not. And now I think part of that is due to a really, really good Ohio State defense. Michigan's defense, no slouch either. Will Johnson, the boys back there, really good. Find ways to be creative if you're Penn State's offensively. You got to get scheme open receivers, easy reads to Drew LR, get the ball out quick, get them comfortable going, take shots deep, be aggressive in this game. You're the underdog. That's what it's got to be.